listeners, and welcome to the first episode of the Igniting Lifelong Literacy, a Chippewa River Writing Project approach, or CRWP approach. Today, we are kicking off our very first episode. We are excited and honored to have you joining us from wherever you are listening and whatever device you are listening on.
Before we dive into this episode, we would like to take some time to introduce who we are exactly. After all, wouldn't it be nice to know who you're listening to on the podcast? There are two of us who will be the regular voices you hear on this podcast. Both of us met through the Chippewa Writing Project, which is a satellite site of National Writing Project in Michigan. We are housed within Central Michigan University, but our consultants are spread out all over Michigan, and we even have one in Chicago. Each of us will be talking about our own separate journeys with CRWP and some of the most valuable things the Writing Project has given us in our introductions. So introducing me, I am Lyndsay Young, and I have taught grades 3 through 8 in my 9 years of teaching. The first 5 years of my teaching career were spent in the upper elementary in 5th and 6th grade. I was a special education co-teacher on a team of 3 gen ed teachers. The remaining years I have looped between 3rd and 4th grade as an ELA teacher, and now I've made a big change and now I'm in 8th grade. So that's been a whole new challenge in itself. I also endorsement in CI, ZA Early Childhood, and BR Reading Specialist degree. My other credentials include being part of the Chippewa Writing Project's leadership team since 2020. The CRWP has definitely been a saving grace for me over the past few years. Before I even joined, CRWP's professional development far exceeded any other PD I ever did. Once I joined, I'd been given the unique opportunity to facilitate PD for teachers around the country, which is amazing. CRWP is truly such a unique group, and honestly, in my opinion, we're like a family, which is so great to have in my life. So now I'm going to introduce Becky, the other host.
Hey, thanks for that, Lyndsay. So my name is Becky Schwartz, and I have been teaching 9 years, just like Lyndsay. But my experience has been mostly in high school with grades 10 through 12, although I have taught grades 7 through 12 in my career. I've mostly taught English courses, but I do have my certifications in history, social studies, and education technology. And I've taught various social studies courses such as world history, current events. I've also taught English interventions and electives, and I've even taught 2 years of AP Computer Science principles. I am a Saginaw Valley State University alum, and that's where I got my master's degree in instructional technology as well. So CMU is really my third home. My second home is really Saginaw Valley State. Go Cardinals! Sorry, CMU. But besides being in the classroom, I've been a teacher consultant, or a TC, with the Chippewa River Writing Project since 2015, where I did the Summer Institute to become a TC, though I didn't become a part of the leadership team until 2020. The leadership team gave me a chance to get a few more years of experience and finish my master's degree before kind of bringing me up to the team. I'm extremely blessed to have found the Writing Project after my first year of teaching through my fabulous mentor. The Writing Project's professional development opportunities are the reason that I am the educator that I am. They're the reason I'm still in education for a big part. The confidence and the resources that they give me every single day, but specifically in the first third of my teaching career, are absolutely indispensable. They've empowered me to use my voice and to advocate for what I know are best practices in my classroom and what's best for my students. And we've created really sort of a family and a network that has been a support system that has been just absolutely unbelievable to me. And I'm thankful for them each and every day.
Halfway through each episode of our podcast, we will be doing a land acknowledgement. The reason we are doing the land acknowledgement is to acknowledge the people that were here before us on Central Michigan grounds. The Chippewa River Writing Project is based at Central Michigan University, located in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Founded in 1892 as Central Michigan Normal School, CMU is located on the ancestral grounds of the Council of the Three Fires, the Anishinaabe, of whom the Saginaw Chippewa Nation is one, ceded under duress in the 1855 and 1864 treaties. This land was named the Isabella Indian Reservation and remains part of the homeland of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe. It is our responsibility to care for this land and its people, and to be intentional and inclusive in our work.
We recognize that this acknowledgement is only meaningful when combined with purposeful actions and genuine relationships that honor the land and its people. These actions include abdicating for the histories, cultures, languages, and the territorial rights of historic Indigenous peoples. Before we talk about the general format of the podcast, let us offer a preface or a disclaimer. Lyndsay and I are learning as we're going with this podcast. We started it because we have a love for literacy and professional development. Neither of us are experts. We are just two educators that are committed to doing the best we can for our students and learning about best practices. We acknowledge that we are going to make mistakes as we learn and grow. We already made one in the original recording of this episode. Before editing and feedback, we were informed about the difference between Chicago and Chicagoland. We have a member in Chicago and one who would describe themselves as more of a Chicagoland resident. Though we're both Michigan natives, we didn't see the distinction at first, so apologies to Chicagoans and those of the surrounding areas in the Midwest. We ask that you give us grace and know that anything we discussed and suggest is not the silver bullet. They're just topics we find interesting, are research-based, or based on our own experiences. Not everything will work for every student or teacher or classroom. We named our podcast based on our love of literacy and an important tenet of the National Writing Project, which is teachers teaching teachers. A tongue twister, but an important part of what makes NWP so powerful. It recognizes and uplifts educators and allows them to share the work that they are doing that is based in best practices. Since that is part of the reason why Lyndsay and I were both so inspired to continue our work with CRWP, our branch of NWP, we've decided that it had to be a foundational principle of this podcast. So when we say CRWP approach, we just mean how we, meaning Lyndsay and I, as two members of the Chippewa River Writing Project, would approach it based on our experiences and research. One of the biggest goals of this podcast is to fit literacy topics into bite-sized amounts, where listeners can get information about a topic and some ideas where to continue their own research. Because of that, we are going to set a set of episodes around a theme or central topic. Think of those as like a season of a TV show, because we want to keep these episodes short, around 20 to 30 minutes. We are going to chunk common topics over several episodes, making it a season. Lyndsay is going to introduce our first season at the very end, but listeners can expect a new episode every single month. Around the middle of the episode, as Lyndsay stated, we'll do our land acknowledgement. Then we'll follow it with some practical advice you can take back to your classroom. Between Lyndsay and I, we've taught both elementary, middle, and high school, and we plan to bring in regular guests based on our episode topics to help bring an additional voice on an issue as well. Now, we may not always hit every level, but we will do our best to give you a holistic view of the issue. Finally, we're going to share a takeaway that we had from our work with each episode. This will serve as kind of a reflective end note and a somewhat of a brief summary of what we've talked about. As a bonus, we're going to always try to keep you informed of upcoming PD opportunities and education happening around Michigan that we're aware of. So please feel free to send us anything that you know that's coming up in the email and the social media links that Lyndsay's going to talk about.
We'd love for you to reach out at any time through the email ignitecrwppodcast383@gmail.com. Like we said, we'd love to hear from you. Is there any topic you want us to cover? Please let us know. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter through the Chippewa River Writing Project pages. We are Chippewa River WP. We are so excited that you stuck around to listen to our introduction on this podcast, and we look forward to learning with you on this journey. Please join us on our first official episode where we start our series on literacy. Our next episode is going to be an overview of a very hot topic on science of reading versus balanced literacy. The follow-up episode will include experts to join our conversation about how to best blend both approaches for literacy instruction. So fire up and see you soon.